All right. All right. I made tons of videos about the music industry, about production, about the lack thereof in production. And every time I go into the comment section, I always see the mention of one particular program. It's not Ableton, it's not Pro Tools, it's not Studio One, it's not Cubase, it's not Reason, it's not none of those. None of these programs. It's always FL Studio. Always. Whether for the good or for the bad. And that lets me know that FL Studio is really the GOAT. Bolo! Yeah, FL Studio. The one program that can either get under your skin or the one program that just about everybody uses. FL Studio. And man, I get so many comments about FL. FL is the reason why people don't know how to produce. FL is the reason why all the beats sound the same. FL this, FL that. What did the program do to you? It's a program that people use. And a lot of people have become successful using it. I don't knock it. Even though I'm an MPC guy, I think FL is kind of cool. You know, I still use it. I made some pretty decent songs using FL Studio. Sure have. And it's actually a cool little program, but I produce in it the way I produce. I'm not really a click type of producer, but I still make pretty much the same type of beats on FL Studio. I make the same type of beats because that's just my style. And if you probably use FL, you would probably make the same type of beats too because that's your style. But man, I see so much hate on this program that is mind-boggling to me because it's just a tool. I guarantee you if you use Logic, if you use Studio One, if you use all these other programs and learned them, if you made a beat on FL and made a beat on Logic, it's probably going to sound the same because that's just the way you produce. Now, some may say, oh, well, these young guys are just clicking in notes and, you know, they're not really learning how to produce because that's FL Studio's not a real instrument. What? We're not going to go there. We're not going to go there because this is the same argument that a lot of people were having 20 years ago. Let me tell you what the argument was 20 years ago. The argument 20 years ago was, man, all these producers are starting to produce on laptops. To be a real producer, you need an MPC or an ASR10 or a real keyboard or workstation. Yeah, that was the argument 20 years ago in 2002. People were hating on people because they were making beats on a laptop that made things easier. Might not have sound the best at that time, but it made things easier. And now, 20 years later, people are hating on a program that cannot make beats on its own. That's how I know FL Studio is the GOAT right now. You go online and you type in FL Studio and you can see damn near anything you want to see about FL Studio. You will learn the program inside and out. That's one of the few programs on YouTube right now. If you wanted to figure something out, you can type it in and it's going to pop up, and it's not going to have maybe 40 or 50 results. It's going to have thousands of results. Why? Because the user base of it is huge. It's the top program right now. Most people are using FL Studio to make their hits, at least in the hip hop world. When you go to studios right now, you have to know that program. Now, granted, I did use FL Studio from 2009 to about 2013. I was a FL Studio user. I would say from 2011 to 2013, I was exclusively FL Studio. And man, did I take some heat about that. I took so much heat, I ended up switching over to Logic. And then when I got into Logic, things kind of changed for me because it was a more comfortable program for me. Because I'm the type of person that kind of likes to play stuff out. So it was more comfortable to me. And then FL didn't have as much stuff as it has now as it did back then. Before I switched, I made some heat. To this day, I made some heat and it sounded great. It sounded really good. I was on, I was on FL9, and then I went all the way up to FL11, I believe. And then from there, I took a pause, and then I got to FL20, and the new FL is dope. Like, even the internal sounds that come with it, and even the other sounds you can get with it, is dope. The way you can put together a beat, like, I kind of use my FL the same way I use my MPC. You know what I'm saying? I do it the same way. You know, you can pattern stuff out. You can take your samples, import them in there real easy. If you got some loops, you can drop them in there. It makes the process easier. And these younger producers have learned how to use this thing inside and out. And then even some of these older producers have switched over. I don't know what it is about FL, but the swing in it has like a swing. And then the drums actually sound very good in FL. They slap. But I'm going to tell you this. If you take some beats that I made on my MPC, you take some beats I made on Logic, you take some beats I made on Studio One, you take some beats I made on FL, guess what? They're going to sound like the type of beats I make, because that's just the way I'm wired. I don't think the program has any bearing on what I make, because if I'm a certain type of a producer, I'm going to make a certain type of a beat, and I'm going to make the beats that I'm known for making. But I have noticed this. There's a lot of guys between the ages of about, 35, 33, 34, 35 and up that have a problem with FL Studio. They have a problem. And this is how I know these guys are older, just by the way their punctuation is in the comment section. I can tell. You know what I'm saying? I can tell how that punctuation is. I can tell that some people actually know how to put together some pretty decent sentences, or they'll make extra long posts explaining why FL Studio is ruining the game. You got to think that when I was using Reason back then, people were like, what is this? And even though Reason was basically like a real setup, like you can hit the little button and it'll switch over to the back and you can take your little chords and put them in the CVs and all that stuff. Like, Reason taught me how to route stuff. And people that were using real gear was like, oh, that's not real. You can't make real beats on Reason. This was 2003 when I was on Reason. And people were getting on me because you're not using real music creation tools. But then I'll be in the studio and I'll make like 4 beats and then go ahead and bounce all the beats down on a CD disc. Well, some of you guys don't know about CDRs and data discs and stuff like that, but you can research that for all you young guys. But I can go in the studio, make me 4 beats, bounce everything down, turn them into the engineer, and be done with me doing everything in like 2 or 3 hours. And there'll be guys working on all the hardware and everything, and they'll still be on the first beat, and then they still will have to route everything in. And I'll be out. I'm collecting my check. I'll be gone. I did receive a little backlash, but then when they seen how I worked, it was like, oh man, I might need to try this computer thing out. So yeah, it's real out here for some guys, because I know that you're programmed to thinking that FL Studio, loops, samples, it's destroying the game. No, it's not. Do you know how many top 40 hits were made on FL Studio? You know how many dance tracks are made on FL Studio? Do you know how many country tracks were made on FL Studio? Rock? Yeah. A lot of these producers are using FL Studio. Believe it or not, it's really here. Do I use it that much now? No, I don't use it that much. But at least about 2 or 3 times out the month, I'll go ahead and just take my laptop to the studio, take my MIDI controller, plug in, and make some bangers with the little homies. Rock out. No problem. Because I actually know the program. I actually know the program very well. I actually showed them some stuff. And even though these guys are already masters on it, sometimes I show them stuff. Because I don't hate on any particular program. Because I know it's not about the program, it's about the user of the program. And if FL Studio was not here, these guys would figure out that same sound on something else. I'm telling you right now, I've seen it with my eyes. I've seen an FL Studio user make beats on my MPC, and guess what? It still sounded like the beats that they would make on FL Studio. Because even though it took them longer, they figured it out. Because real producers can figure things out. And I've noticed that a lot of times, the people who cannot figure things out or who do not know how to make beats as good as others which is subjective, but the beats don't sound as good as others, they're usually the ones who have issues. I've noticed that. But you guys let me know. You guys let me know, is FL Studio the GOAT DAW right now? I believe it is, because everybody's using it. Everybody's making great music off of it. Once you pay for it, it's free updates. Like, come on, man. They have a ton of internal sounds. They have a gazillion ways to make a beat on there. And it's what you need to know when you walk in the studios, especially if you do hip hop. Or let me know if you think that FL Studio is what's ruining music right now. Let me know in the comment section. I want to hear what you guys got to say. I'm gonna comment back with you guys on this one. But hope this video was informative. Hope you guys learned something from it. And like I always say, peace out.